Hello guys. So we're in the middle of a really wicked thunderstorm, so we'll see if the power holds out. If things suddenly go dark, you'll know why. I need to do these more often. I get really nervous. Let's see if I can pull up the chat here. Hello, hello, hello. How is everyone doing during this global pandemic? I have left my house one time in a month, and I'm going stir crazy. Let me turn on live chat. So things down here are going pretty well. I actually have fish that are due to come today. I ordered some more natives for the hill stream, but who knows if they'll be on time or not. I myself am not currently shipping because I don't want to go out in the world at all, and dropping off boxes is just not a priority. Plus, a lot of the shipping companies are saying there could be pretty substantial delays or the potential for delays because of being overloaded with all the shipping. So for me, it's not really worth potentially risking the health of the livestock because of a lack of timeliness. So it is what it is. Am I going to do summer tubbing? Absolutely. In fact, I think I might work on setting up the tubs with the plants maybe next week because, it's so warm and beautiful here and I have nothing but time. And I have my kids at home who can help me. So I may set them up, start letting them get seeded with the Daphnia and stuff like that for the live food. The plants all came back from last year. So my greenhouse is entirely full of all my pond plants right now. Yeah, peace, Lily. Can I do videos of setting up the tubs? I can. I'm just never sure if that stuff is still interesting to you guys. This will be my 5th year, I think, of doing summer tubbing on YouTube. And I'm never sure if I should show the whole process again or just do a quick recap or just show it set up. So let me know what you guys think about that. Because, I've been doing it forever, but I know as people come to the channel new, maybe they haven't rewatched those old ones. It is a bit early to start a tub pond, but I can set them up and fill them with water and turn on the filters and move my lilies out. So, the lilies are all growing. I pulled them out of storage a couple days ago. It'll be 5 years in October, so I guess this will be my 4th year tubbing on YouTube. I don't know. I lose track of time. It feels like forever and also yesterday. Another waterfall. Yeah, I'd like to expand on that too. Hi Candy, thank you for being here to moderate. There are going to be some obstacles in that, I can't really get the things that I usually get. I can't go to my local stores to buy the plants that I usually get. I'm trying to only order things that are essential to minimize the risk of potential exposure within my household. So, luckily for me, I have a greenhouse and I overwintered all those plants and I have a ton. So I'll have plants. I'm not sure if I'll be able to get new and exciting ones like I generally do. Someone asked if you can breed Furcatus, Pseudomugil Furcatus, or the fork-tail rainbow in a tub. You can, but in my experience, rainbows, even in a tub with all that live food and plant cover, are pretty good at predating upon their eggs and the eventual fry. So what I like to do is set up a smaller tub next to them, maybe like one of the resin whiskey barrels, and basically mop spawn them. So leave the adults out eating all that great live food and then either swap plants or swap mops to raise the fry up. So what barbs did I consider adding to my goldfish tank? Those goldfish I think are going to get pretty big. I only added those barbs because I had them here and I was keeping them in a 10-gallon tank and I didn't think that was very fair. So and they're cooler water species or more temperate species as opposed to tropical. So the parameters wise, they match well with the goldfish. So we'll take a look at them in a minute. The goldfish are putting on size like crazy. I'll probably keep them in here. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'd really like to build a pond in my yard, but I don't know. We'll see if that ever happens. My favorite fish to put in the summer tubs in general are danios and white clouds. Really any species of danio and any of the minnows will breed like gangbusters out there. I may pull some of the brachydanio or orange fin kyathit danios out of my 150 to move out. I'll probably move out my least killies again. I have some pygmy sunfish coming again. I will move out maybe the Espy reservoirs. They didn't do a whole lot last year. I'll move out a bunch of different shrimp. I'll probably move out my gold ring danios, my CPDs. I'm not sure. I'll have to see what I have down here to actually. Oh, I'll move out the glow light danios that are currently in quarantine, assuming they look good when the time comes. Now, I won't actually move fish out till probably after Mother's Day. That's when here, at least in my zone, the temperatures are stable enough and warm enough to move out fish. And even with plants, they won't actively grow if they're below a certain temperature threshold, but they can take the temperatures that we're having now, which is like high 40s overnight and anywhere from 50s to mid 70s during the day. So, I mean, I can move all the stuff from the greenhouse out and then get the greenhouse tub set up to move the shrimp into. That's the goal anyway. I'm despite having all this time, I seem to be lacking motivation. There's something really exhausting about all of this, which I'm sure everyone feels that way. But for me, it's been really exhausting. Which is weird because I stay home all the time anyhow. I'm always alone. I'm always by myself. You know, this is what I do. I hang out in my basement 24/7. So it's weird that it's affecting me. I think it's just the mental thought that I can't go anywhere. What natives other than rainbow shiners am I looking at? I ordered another species of shiner. I wanted to get more of the yellow fins that I have, but they weren't available, so I got another one. And I actually cleared a 75-gallon. I'm thinking about starting a 75-gallon hill stream as one of the projects. Awase sent me a really nice canister to do a review on, so I thought maybe I would try and set up one of my 75s as a smaller, more duplicable hill stream setup that like you guys could do at home. So, you know, I know most people probably don't have space for a 150, but a lot of people have space for a 4-foot tank. Thank you, God, you guy. Have a cup of coffee. I will. Thank you. Or I'll buy some live food for my fish. And maybe we can do a special feeding video sometime. Yeah, if you guys have ideas of things that you would like to see, let me know. Where can I get carnivorous plants, online or local? I really like to buy carnivorous plants, if possible, from someone who's raising or growing them in the same zone or roughly the same area as myself. So for me, because I'm in Pennsylvania, I buy them mainly from this farm in Maryland called Carnivorous Plant Nursery. Michael Cesi's the owner. He's extremely good at what he does. I've been to his facility a few times. His plants are insanely nice. But there's all sorts of good online vendors, you know, in all honesty. But I like to buy from a similar zone as to my own because I feel like the plants go through less stress in shipping. So that's my preference. But, you know, I've also bought them online from down south and from California and not really had any problems. But just like with fish, if you can get them closer to home, it's generally better. Less time in transit. Do I think the bigger the tub, the better? In all honesty, yeah, you know, well, it depends. Now, my 300-gallon that I put the white clouds in might be a bit excessive. I think the 70-gallon or 80-gallon Rubbermaid stock tubs, whatever size those are probably my favorite because you can fit a decent amount of fish in them and it really has good dilution, so they're easier to maintain and less prone to any dramatic parameter shifts. So it's sort of like aquarium keeping, you know. The biggest you have space for is generally best. Do I keep L46? No, I keep some other ones though. I should have grabbed my glasses. Sorry, guys. Seeing these little tiny words is difficult. Have I ever kept L46? Yes, I've kept and I've bred them. I have ones that are I've worked with ones that are rarer than those. I mean, I know they're everybody's favorite, but they're not mine. Is 17-gallon big enough for hill stream loach? I guess it would depend on what species of the hill stream loach and more the oxygenation, as well as how mature the aquarium is. How do I get rid of green dust algae? I use a razor blade and scrape it off. That's probably not the answer you were looking for. Have I thought about adding any darter species, to the hill stream? Not really. Darters they're a challenging fish. Now, I know that the hill stream would seem ideal for them, but I don't raise a ton of live food all year round, and darters in general can be pretty picky about their food. And not only that, depending on species, a lot of them really appreciate a significant seasonal shift in temperature in order for them to exhibit good breeding colors, and I can't achieve that down here in the fish room. So I have worked with Johnny darters and a few other species in the past, but they end up just looking like gray fish, which isn't particularly rewarding nor exciting. So the shiners do well, but they come from, all the way down to Florida up into Tennessee, I believe. So they have less of a seasonal shift than a lot of the darters. Hi, Biggs. Hey, Simply Shrimps is here too. We have to work on your kitchen. So do you guys want to take a look at some tanks? It's a bit of a mess down here. I should have vacuumed my floor. So, sorry. Let me know what you want to see. And let's see if we can flip this camera around. I'll try and go slow. I do this on my cell phone because it's easiest down here in the fish room. There's the 150. So one of the things that I really hoped to achieve this year was doing something about the light pollution. Because of all the lights in the fish room, it shines on all of the aquariums. So there's not a whole lot I can do about it right now about the glare on the glass, but the 150 is doing really, really well. I'm happy with it. Oh, you're moving to Pennsylvania? I thought I saw on your Facebook or something you were moving to Vermont. Here's the 75-gallon South American. I'm considering adding the Ember Tetras that are in quarantine to this aquarium. That's the new paludarium. I hear my children coming down the stairs. Hello? Okay. So this is the aquarium I'm considering turning into a hill stream. The biggest obstacle is that I can't actually fit a canister filter underneath it. So I am not sure what I'm going to do. We will see. This is the Goldfish Tank. They're all going to run away until we stand here for a minute. I think they're adorable. The barbs have not been bothering the goldfish at all. It's not since that first day. And the goldfish that started to turn oranges turned back to brown, which is kind of interesting. This is the Penjang. Still a bit of a train wreck. I need to really address that at some point, but the bonsai are doing so well. They're a Ficus salicifolia that I don't want to mess with it. But I do want to mess with it. So I have this like moral dilemma. The guppies are going absolutely bonkers. There are probably 50 or 60 fry in here. And this tank has developed duckweed, which I'm kind of pissed about. But it's great for those fry to hang out in. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see them all up there at the surface or not. They're right by the wood. Someone said they wanted to see the super reds. Look at all the babies. See them up at the surface there? I guess, I'm not sure if it was one spawn or two that were released. But there are babies everywhere, which is kind of cool. And then on my, I think I put it on my story here on YouTube, but also on my Instagram, I showed a short clip the other day of 2 of the males sparring. It was pretty funny. There's one of the big boys now. They were fighting over, they're probably going to do it again because they're both right there. They like to spawn inside this piece of wood. Is there a shrimp tank? There's probably about 12 shrimp tanks. Go over, oh, see my mess? Yellow Neos. Blues. Here's the hill stream loaches that are just chilling. Let's see. What else do you guys want to see? One of my many tanks of cherry shrimp. There's also those wild Colombian guppies in there. Which that male is actually getting really nice. Surprising. Oh, here's red rillies and tigers. And the reflection of my feet, so you can see I'm wearing shoes. It's one of the 2 tanks of shellies. The things that are clay pots flattened are called Calvess Caves. That's a cichlid breeding cave. Calvess, actually, for those, you use these in a vertical orientation, I think. But I found that hill stream loaches will breed in them, so they do well. This is all my extra wild bettas. As you can see, there's quite a lot, so I really do wish I was shipping right now. There's probably 30 pairs in here. The tanks on this rack are 15s, short side out. The second set of chili tanks, and look at how they have excavated the sand. I'm not sure if it's gonna really show up for you, but they have pushed it all to the front, which means we're gonna have fry soon in this one for sure, because it's a pretty crazy amount of movement. Here's one of my 2 tanks of white clouds. I can't really focus. You can see there's a lot of fry in there though. And then this is the second tank of white clouds. Oh, that glare. I don't know what I can do about that glare. Sorry, guys. And then I have 2 tanks of the flagfish too. And then over here, see, I showed this on my Instagram the other day. I have no idea how this happened. You know, I don't remember it looking real overgrown, and then I just looked at it this week and it looks like this. And it's carpeted with hair grass, and there's a ton of hardtape and anubias in there, and then sag and guppy grass, and it just all of a sudden is a solid block of plant. So I need to get in there and trim that. But there's a baby rosy loach right in the middle. The rosy loaches are breeding in there, so I'm not in a big hurry. But it's kind of crazy how it can go from like looking like a normal tank to that. It's my crypt farm. The algae scape. I'll pull a lot of the fish from this aquarium to move outside. I should probably have fed these tanks so that the fish were more front and center. These are the breeding Mahachaensis. You can see that this guy has bubble nests everywhere. Now, one thing I really like about this species is that they're not shy like a lot of wild bettas. They're really in your face. As soon as I come over here, they rush the glass. So they're a really fun species to keep. And gorgeous. How are the girls keeping busy during quarantine? I mean, they have school every day. It's just from home. They do like these big group video classroom chats, which is kind of neat. And they painting and playing guitar and ukulele, and look at this female crib. You know, just doing what they normally do. They've been taking naps in the yard. Show the South American. I'll move back over to that side. I started with that one. This is the purple oil catfish tank. If I feed it, we could see them. Let's grab some O-nip and see if we can bring some of the fish to my yard. The axolotl is at my my daughter's boyfriend's house. Apparently it's growing really well. I haven't actually seen it since I helped him learn how to do water changes and stuff, so I was over there for that. Oh, did you guys see that? These guys like bite your fingers. But it's doing really well. It's apparently putting on tons of size. Feed this tank too. Oh, I didn't show you this one yet. This is the sand tank. This one's really grown on me, in all honesty. I think it looks good. There's Captain Cranky Pants. Oh, sorry, you guys are looking at, I'm trying to bait tank so that you'll be able to actually see the fish in them. I'm hoping the crebensis in here start breeding. I mean, they're just your regular standard cribs, but that female, man, she is a sexy beast. Yeah, we're having wicked bad thunderstorms, so I apologize if the stream quality is a little wonky. There's not a whole lot I can do about it. We've been losing power on and off in little blinks, so it is what it is. Purple oil is starting to come out. These guys are so stinking cute. I like watching the regular honeycombs a lot too. Tell you, I've been spending a lot of time down here just watching the fish. Because they're so stinking cute. I thought about moving some of these guys outside, but I'm just not sure how they would do. Maybe I'll try a pair. I don't know. We'll see. If any of you guys have moved catfish out before, let me know. 20 questions in interview style? Sure. You want on the stream or what? Oh boy, now the chat's moving fast. All right, so someone was requesting, hey Chuck. Yeah, your little buddies are doing great. So yeah, I need to refresh the botanicals in here already again. Baker's Dozen, I do, but I have a deceptive amount of fish in each of my aquariums. You can break them down into little tiny bits. So, you know, however much you want to break it down. Or you could also just remove it. I mean, overfeeding is definitely a problem. Let me go back to actually being able to see the questions you guys are asking me. Now you're all crooked. Oh, I forgot to show you the big boys, but now you can see them behind me. All right. What exact species is the cobitus in my 150? You know, it was sold as Tanniatus, but who knows, honestly. A lot of them look really, really similar. So I'm not entirely sure. Or maybe they were sold as sinensis. I'm not sure. So the cute kind, the kind that are breeding. I think I put, you guys, some of you would probably remember better than me. I think I only moved like 5 or so in there. Okay, question number 1 for your fans. What's my favorite substrate to look at and which is my favorite to work with? My favorite one to look at is probably a mix of pool filter sand and one of the Carib Sea Supernaturals, sort of biotope style fine gravels. I like to mix them together. I think it gives a more natural appearance. And my favorite one to actually plant into is probably Tropica, the larger size soil. Plants just grow really well in it. It's expensive, but I think it's worth it. Have I kept brackish before? No. Have I kept goodeids? Yes. Many species. I actually want to get more of the butterfly goodeiid, Amica splendens. I absolutely love those. Again, I'm just trying to be responsible here and not go crazy with just and minimizing exposure to my family. What do I think is the most versatile tank size? I like 75 gallons. I think you can do a whole lot with them. 20 longs are great too. Make sure I'm not missing any questions from 20 questions. How to get Otis Inkless to spawn. I find that they do best in a really, really mature aquarium, so don't even try it if the aquarium's less than a year old. And in my experience, at least, they like to have things like Anubias in the tank, but also some of the finer leaved plants that they can graze on. That Pogostemon octopus is a good one. What happened to the tank I was testing Dr. Tim's waste away on? Well, I added all of those Hillstream loaches to it, so I don't know if the Hillstream loaches ate it and got rid of it, or if Dr. Tim's worked. So I will have to repeat that in the future when I have cyanobacteria again. What magazine did I write for, and do I still contribute? I was a featured columnist in for Amazonas magazine for a couple years, and I also wrote a recurring column for the Aquatic Gardener. I've also been in TFH, and a bunch of others. I don't remember. For a while there, I was writing quite a lot. I don't really do it so much anymore. When I started putting out all this content on YouTube, it felt less important to contribute to magazines because I was putting out all this information that was so readily available and searchable as it was, and people didn't have to pay for a subscription to be able to read it. So I would like to write another book, though. Oh, I missed Tiffany's question. Let me see. Setting up summer tubs for the first time. Do I have a list of good pond plants for beginners on somewhat of a budget? A lot of that depends on where you are. A lot of things like Creeping Jenny is super cheap and works great as a border plant. A lot of Louisiana irises are really awesome. A lot of the rushes are really easy. Water lettuce, water mint is a great one and it smells awesome. I mean, what I used to do before I had my greenhouse is I would just go local and buy the things that I could afford and try those. When I start pulling out my tubs again, I'll do a plant list for you guys of things that I found to be super easy. Let's see. Thoughts on no filter tanks? It's not my preference. I'm sure it can be done well. It's just not my preference. You have to be really aware of balance if you are going to be not utilizing filtration. It takes some paying attention, that's for sure. Is there a species of gar I can keep in a 120 gallon long term? Not in my opinion. Biggest problem, 120, you mean like the 4x2x2? The biggest problem is gars in general are not very flexible, so they need a lot of turning space. Number 3, let's see, where'd it go? Is there any fish that you absolutely love but will not get? And is there a why? And if there is, why? Stingrays. I love stingrays and arowana, but I can't provide a tank for them. Right now, I have to come up with a plan for the big boys because that is physically the largest aquarium that can fit into my house. We have a central staircase, so you have to do a lot of turns to get down here, and that tank is the biggest that will actually physically fit. So I'll have to build something down here, or when that tank is no longer suitable, sell those fish. I've always planned to build a tank down here, but I never really expected to have all these other tanks. You know, it's kind of crazy how that happens. Do I grow herbs or veggies? Yes. I grow a lot of herbs and veggies and peppers. Well, they're veggie, you know, all kinds of stuff. Big Boys tank, I think, is a 240 maybe. They still have enough space to easily turn. There's not that many fish in there, so it's pretty easy to maintain. Let's see. Hard water. Plants for hard water. I mean, I think a lot of plants will do just fine. I would probably start with things like Anubias and ferns and crypts. I find that they do just fine in hard water. Maybe some of the stem stuff is a bit more particular. Oh, but it's an 8-gallon, so it's tiny. So narrow leaf job fern, maybe dwarf sag, true dwarf sag. Probably some of the bucephalandras, mosses will do fine, but I find mosses to be a pain in the butt. Do I plan on getting any more tattoos? Oh yes, I plan to be able to answer the question, how many tattoos do you have, with the response 1. I'm in the process of doing my back, but obviously all of that is on hold. My favorite shell dweller, Neolamprologus multifasciatus. I love the little multis. They're not that, you know, they're not rare or anything, but I think they're adorable and they're super easy to breed. I would recommend starting out with maybe 6 fish to leave room for breeding out, because they will breed like crazy. Hi, sweetheart.
Oh,
What's up?
Dad said he has to go. He's getting ready to move, and I'm getting cheese.
Oh, okay. Sorry, guys. Do I still have rummy nose tetras? No. Let's see. Do you feed your edible plants fish tank water? Sometimes. I collect rainwater. I have a huge container bin of rainwater. Have you done any first in the aquarium hobby? As in first spawns? I don't know. I don't even really participate in that programs. I did get to introduce freshwater invertebrates to Bermuda, which was pretty cool. I got to take them there and introduce them to the aquarists on that island. I thought that was pretty awesome. So I guess that's technically a first. I'm one of their health inspectors for importing. So I was able to get the permits and have them inspected and then introduce them to the pet shops there. Do summer tubs need aeration? Not really, especially if they have any sort of significant volume. Now, the one thing to consider is if they're in full sun, if there's going to be enough oxygen, but generally it's hot at the surface and still cool down at the bottom. So it should be fine. How did I get into fish keeping? We had aquariums when I was growing up. We had a 55-gallon in my living room. Used to grab plants from the creek, and we had like live bearers and just community fish. My dad had an Oscar for a while. And then I didn't keep fish when I was in college. I lived in the city, moved a lot, and was broke AF. So, you know, this isn't a hobby really that is great if you have absolutely no money. So when I got married and started having kids, I got back into the aquarium hobby. I'm not quite sure how this all happened. But, you know, happens to the best of us, right? Actually, I got interested in genetics of apple snails, so I got a bunch of tanks for those. And then in about 2004, I got my first shrimp and had really great success breeding those. So I sold enough of those to be able to buy the materials for more of a setup down here and get new species. So it was you know, this all happened really organically. And then I started lecturing about 12 years ago, maybe, traveling to events to give presentations and writing articles. And then YouTube 4.5 years ago. So it's kind of crazy how this stuff can evolve from just being a nerd. Do I have any endangered species? The vast majority of the fish that I work with are technically considered CARES species because of their habitats being threatened, so almost everything I work with. Do I plan on visiting the abandoned goldfish again? Yeah, you know, I should probably go back and actually do a good job on a video. It kind of pisses me off that that video did so well when it was literally shot on my cell phone in like, you know, a minute and a half. But it was a neat story, I thought. So I'll probably go back. Of course, we gotta wait. You know, they just announced today that in Pennsylvania, all schools are closed for the rest of the academic year. So I'm not sure when they're gonna lift the stay-at-home orders. How much did cherry shrimp cost in 2004? $20 a piece. I bought 8 and sold thousands and thousands and thousands over the years. What are my favorite cold water fish other than white clouds? You know, probably, well, they're not really cold water. Temperate water. Probably the rhinogobius and Borneo suckers and stuff like that. I just heard the gars slap. Did you guys hear that? They slapped the surface. Any Lake Tanganyika fish you'd like to try? There's a ton of tangs I'd like to work with. Problem is like they don't really, not as great in planted tanks, and I have to decide which I want more, planted tanks or cool fish. I'm sure at some point, I seem to go through like phases down here of what I'm interested in. You know, I went through a big catfish phase, an pistogramma phase, a pleco phase. I'm not sure what you would call what I'm in right now, but all right, next question. What was my biggest disappointment in the hobby and how did I get past it? I guess my biggest disappointment in the hobby is just like how sometimes people's egos can really get in the way of them sharing information. And I saw this a lot a few years ago, especially in like the organized aquascaping hobby, where people weren't sharing their techniques freely in order for the entire community to get better. Everything was super proprietal and people were like just nasty, and a lot of that has gotten way, way better, but you know, I still think that you need to like check your ego in this hobby. I know for myself that I still learn new things every single day, and that is why I love this hobby, and that when you stop thinking that you're going to learn new things, you should probably shut your mouth, in all honesty. I have L10As. They're easy. Any pointers on angelfish and their aggression breeding? Ugh, good luck, man. There's a reason I don't work with that fish. Angels, for how beautiful they are real asshats. Am I friends with the King of DIY? Yeah, Joey has been a mentor to me. He's the one that really pushed me to start my channel. He helped me figure out all the nuts and bolts of YouTube. He's been a great friend to me, and you know, yeah, I'm friends with Joey. I probably always will be. Been to his house, you know. Our kids are close to the same age. He's a good guy. Let's see. How's my knee? I still need another surgery, but obviously I'm trying to push it off until my kids go to college. In all honesty, so it's less disruptive to my household. So I'm only inconveniencing myself, not my family. What's your favorite foolproof plants? I love Anubias. I love just basic crypts like Lentii. I love narrow leaf Java fern. The plants you see in all my tanks, I use the same ones a lot of the time because they're what can withstand my lack of fertilizers and lack of CO2 and still consistently grow and do pretty well. And I am pretty prone to hair algae since I switched to LED lights. I'm not quite sure what to do about that, so I just manually remove it. I once told you I like how your videos are true and honest, that you show mistakes and talk about how to correct them. Are there any videos that you want to redo? All of my early species spotlights and the Tuesday tips, honestly, just because I was using a Nikon camera and the internal mic, even when I started using a shotgun mic, the sound was so bad and I was so awkward. I would love to redo a lot of those just so that I don't cringe when I watch them. The information I think is completely solid. I just cringe when I look at what I look like and how I sounded and how nervous I was, and oh boy, yeah, they're hard for me to watch. Whenever I see comments pop up on them from the past, I'm like, ooh. 150 is doing awesome. I have fish coming to go into quarantine to add to it. I'm really excited. I don't even actually remember exactly what I ordered. Do I keep a quarantine tank set up all the time? I do not. Because if I do, then I fill it and then it's not a quarantine anymore. So I keep a couple beat up, ugly, scratched, watermarked 10 gallons over in my spare room. And then I just keep extra filter media in the big boys tank. I have an HOB on the end over there that I keep full of ceramic rings. And as soon as I take some out, I add some more, and then that way if I ever need to set up a quarantine, I mean the big boys crap Lincoln loves, you know, I can take like 4 or 5 rings from that, add it to a 10 gallon and, you know, avoid any potential for a cycle. The room is heated. I'm actually getting blasted with the heater right now. Why don't I have a high-tech aquarium? I was supposed to be, so I had a lot of plans for this year. Going to be setting up a brand new high-tech, going through it step by step for the very first time so that I could demonstrate for you guys. I was going to make some trips to some of the companies of the equipment that I was going to use in order for the people who are designing and creating these products to be able to educate me and in turn share it with you guys. But obviously coronavirus has changed a lot of my plans for this year. It's pretty frustrating. Do I have a favorite pet shop that I go to look at their fish? I did. There used to be a pet shop maybe 5 miles from here that was called Tony's that closed down, let's see, 12 years ago. Now there aren't any local pet stores, so I have to drive a few hours if I really want to get to an actual local pet store. Now I do live close to that fish place. I like to go there and walk around and look at the supplies, but I don't really like to look at the fish there. Have I ever shown the mystery room? No. I don't know. I'm not going to. Let's see. You just flood. Sorry you flooded your floor. I do that all the time. That's why I'm lucky I have concrete floors and floor drains. Let's see. Tips for Neocaridina shrimp. I have a lot of videos on that. I have been working with Neocaridina shrimp for 16 years now. My best tips are make sure your tank is super cycled, make sure it's well mature, make sure that you don't overfeed. You know, and I think those are the biggest mistakes people make, adding them to a tank that is not really stable. Do the biggest tank you can. Don't just think that because they're small that a small tank is best. If you can do a 10 gallon or larger, do it. I think that makes life way easier and allows for expansion of the colony readily, which is pretty critical because they breed like crazy if they're happy. Let's see if I'm missing anything. Uh-oh, MD Fish Tanks, hello. Yeah, I have a couple of rooms down here in the basement that I've never shown, and I probably won't. I have considered, so I'm actually looking at one of them now. It's over there. I have considered actually building a tank into the underside of the stairs that lead down here into the fish room, because I could build a really big tank and go into that room and have it be a really, like probably like maybe a 7 by 4 foot or an 8 by 4 foot tank. And then that way I could hide all the filtration and part of the tank in that room and not lose a lot of the floor space in this room. Because I'm really loving how open this is. And at some point, someday, you know, when people can hang out again, I want to have people over. I want people to be able to hang out down here. And, you know, if there's an 8-foot fish tank in the middle of the room, that's not going to happen. Number 10. I love fish more than plants, but I love your other channel. Is the other channel, Plantaholics, doing as well as you thought? I didn't go into that channel with any level of expectation, in all honesty. It's just something, you know, I was seeing a lot of comments on this channel that people weren't particularly interested in my terrestrial plant content. I mean, of course, there were plenty of you that were, but let's be real, it's a fish channel, right? So I was concerned that if I continued to put that content out on this channel, it would alienate some of you guys. And, you know, I figured why not just start that second channel? I can nerd out there all I want without having to worry about alienating anyone on this channel. And if anyone on this channel, you know, is interested in that, they can just subscribe there too. Now, it's going to take a long time for that channel to get monetized, because you have to, they've changed it since I started YouTube years and years ago. I guess you have to have 4,000 hours of watch time. I'm only about a quarter of the way there. You know, we'll see how it does. You know, I'm not an expert on plants. I'm not nearly as experienced with terrestrials as I am with the aquarium stuff, but I'm having a good time. So, you know, thoughts on the MD Fish Tanks? Great energy. Let's see. Your angels are indeed asshats, yeah. I appreciate those of you that have gone over to my other channel to support it. I'm probably going to put out a video this week on like some of my favorite tools for maintaining my plants. And that way I can get some input from you guys about what tools you like. Do I play video games? I play The Sims with my daughters, but otherwise, no. No. I remember I got rid of our main TV to fit plants. So, you know, it doesn't really work to play too many games. Thoughts of doing shrimp in with zebra danios in a 55-gallon. You know, my first aquarium that I bred shrimp in was a 36-gallon corner bow front that had cardinal tetras, cherry barbs, Coreodoris, bristlenose plecos, and honey gourami, and I had this huge wad of moss, and my cherry shrimp bred like crazy. The first few hundred I sold came out of that aquarium. But in general, if you want to see the colony really boom and grow and, you know, expand as it would normally, then no fish is best. Zebra danios won't eat the adults, but they will certainly pick at the babies. So if you have really dense areas of planting for them to hide, you might have some decent success. Number 11, speaking of tools, did you ever make the video of the tools you used? I don't remember. I'd have to look through my channel. I have a lot of like weird tools that I use, like a colander for tank refill when I'm aquascaping, to I've got all kinds of weird tools that I use. Speaking of tools, though, I need you guys to tell me what algae scrapers are really good. I haven't bought anything like that in years and years, and I am tired of using razor blades and going in my tanks up to my armpits, so let me know what you guys use. As far as like aquascaping tools, I like to have a nice pair of spring scissors. I have carpal tunnel syndrome, and using the regular scissors, my wrists and hands go numb. So I like having the spring scissors. They're less exhausting. I'll go grab them. Hold on. doing a lot down here lately, so I don't even know where everything is. So I like to have a pair of these. This is the nano size. I like to have a pair of normal curved scissors, and then a couple knives. I don't have any in my toolkit because they're probably sitting on top of a tank. But some nice pairs of both straight and curved pincets. And I also like to have, I don't know where it is, a paintbrush to sort of sweep off the rocks and stuff. I like to have a bottle brush, like one of the ones that's used for metalworking to scrub off high points on rocks when they get algae. I don't like to remove all the algae, but I like to remove it on some of the flat spots so you can play with light and dark. So those are just a few of the tools. Let's see, did I miss anything important? Long handle scrapers. Toothbrush, yeah, toothbrush is great too, or even a nail brush for cleaning under your nails. Those work really, really great. The biggest problem I'm having right now, and the reason I asked about the algae scraper, is the 150. I have it so tall, I have to get at the top of a ladder, and then I'm in up to my armpit, and it's just a mess. What is my Fishroom needing that's on my wish list to get? Something I've been putting off getting. I really need a new mic. My mic died. So that I can film better for you guys. I also would love to have another camera so that I could do multiple angles. I would love to deal with, like, buy the materials to be able to put magnetic panels in between the rows that I can clip up to block the light scatter. I think those things mainly. I'll get there eventually, you know. My channel's not very big. I don't make much money. So, let's see. Dirt or soil. I never use dirt. I don't like dirt. Well, and that's because I'm not very good at plug and play. So, like when you dirt a tank and then you cap it, you have to plant your plants and not mess with them, or you'll release a lot of that dirt into the water column. It makes a great big mess. So I prefer soil because I'm just not that good at not messing with things. Am I still active on forums? Not for years. I'm still friends with a lot of the people that I was on forums with back in the day. I used to moderate a few forums and then write blogs for some others, paid blogs. It was fun. Those were fun days back in the forum days. But now we have YouTube community. You know, we didn't have that then. To me, it's very similar, and it's probably a lot of the same people. Empty 280 on the porch, is that good for summer tubbing? Yeah, the problem with glass tanks is, I mean, it's nice that you can see into them, but man, do they get algae. I really like the black bins for that reason. I don't have a huge problem, or as big of a problem with the algae. Still get some. Let's see. No, the microcrabs are not thriving. I did not share a lot of the travesty that has been that Penjang. It's been an extremely steep learning curve, but it's getting better now. So I'll get more microcrabs at some point and try again. Right now I have a couple of Sowelia in there to try out. Luminatus and Gertrude in the same tank. I like to keep rainbows separate because rainbows easily hybridize. Just my personal opinion. What do you guys think I should put in the paludarium? I think I'm going to get some newts. A friend of mine bred the blue-tail firebellies. I might just get some of those and see how it goes because I can, instead of trying to source things that I don't know how I'm going to get. What canister would you recommend? I really like the Awase. Here, hold on. This is the one I'm getting ready to set up. It's kind of cool because the heater is inside the canister. And you can, when you have it, you can take it has like a pre-filter that you can easily take off to clean. So I'll be setting that up at some point. They're not a sponsor. Before you come at me, I don't have a single sponsor. So, you know, it's just a brand that I really like the people who work for it, and their quality is really good. I also really like the company Sitche. They offer incredible warranties, but I haven't used any of their canister filters yet. I am using a lot of the Sitche pumps though, and I just think it's so freaking bonkers that they offer a 5-year warranty. Just crazy. Does my husband have any projects in the works for me or me for him? No, not currently. He's essential personnel, so still going to work every day. So let's see. Yeah, my problem with the Fluval canisters, and I use Fluval on the big boys. I have 2 FX6s on that, and then I have an FX5 on the 150. They are a pain in the butt to clean and prime. You know, they're just so hard to work with, and I can't speak for, well, I used to love their smaller FXs. Those weren't so bad, but when you're working with these really big canisters, man, they're a pain in the butt. And I really just, you know, I think the Owasi are better, but I think what I'm going to do for a lot of my bigger tanks is just move to sumps, if I'm being honest. You add more dilution that way. I can get a really nice, like, DC pump that I can control the flow of. So I'll do that at some point. I would like to put a big sump underneath the big boys. It would help a lot, I think, with their aquarium. Oh, rainbow shiner spawning, that's fun. Man, those boys, though, they like to gang bang or like gang up on the girls. That sounded terrible, but multiple boys will go after one girl when they're spawning. It always amazes me how people think it's appropriate to talk about something like my tattoos when we're a fish channel. I really don't care about your opinions of them. And, you know, they're permanent. That's the point of them. Let's see. So that person can suck it too. Let's see. We're running out of time. I need the rest of my questions from you for your 20 questions. I guess I don't really have anywhere I have to go, so don't need to hurry too much. I do have an Eheim on the Penjang. Do I have any merch? Yeah, but, you know, nothing I'm particularly, like, super proud of. I have a Teespring page. Do I still work with Indian hackfish? No, but, you know, that's a fish I really want to get again. They do awesome in tubs, Labuca dowdy bergeri, and they, man, the colors they get are bonkers. That is one that's on my list that I would really like to get again. Do I have any information about the rainbow shiners? You know, I would encourage you to go to a website that's called nanfa.org, NANFA.org. It's the North American Native Fish Association, and that is where you're really going to find information from the experts that study and breed and work with all of these North American natives. They're incredible information. They just really, really, really good. And that's where I get all my information when I'm trying to figure things out about natives. They have a forum, but they also have a great big database of just articles from keepers, breeders, and scientists. Do I miss not seeing the fish you put in the summer tubs? Not really. I mean, I can still see them. I will go out maybe once a week. I'll feed the tubs just so that I can get an idea of numbers and stuff like that. And you can see them. I mean, it's hard to capture on camera, but like you can see that all the eyes and the glint and the glow and stuff like that. And it's like, you know, it's still pretty rewarding. And it's certainly in the shallow tubs, you can definitely see all the fish and shrimp. Let's see. What was my first fish spawn? Actually, Brocus splendens, which are hard to spawn, but they were my first fish that I spawned. Do I have any cardinals? No, I prefer green neons, so I have a lot of those. I have some 17-year-old neon tetras as well. Yeah, Marcus, I would love to do more species spotlights. The problem is I don't have any species that I haven't done a spotlight on. You know, in order to do species spotlights, I have to have footage. Otherwise, you guys are just going to be looking at me. And what kind of a fish channel would that be? I prefer to mainly shoot the fish, not me. What's my favorite color? Shrimp. I like blue shrimp. I love a good old-fashioned cherry shrimp. Let's see. Thoughts on Dojo Loaches? They're all right. I'm probably not going to be keeping them. I know a lot of you suggested them for the Goldfish Tank, but meh. Good food for hill streams. I like to use Rapashi Soylent Green. And I also like to feed them frozen baby brine and live Daphnia. Do I have species spotlight on the splash tetras? I have them. I have the fish. Well, I have Pyrrolina, which are a false splash tetra, but similar, identical care. I don't know. I'll have to look back through. If I don't, maybe I can do that one of those soon. Am I still working with my sawblocks? No, I sold those long ago. Do I have any coolie loaches? I have a lot, and they creep me out. They're in the hill stream tank. They're actually breeding. I saw baby coolies in there the other day, and I was like, oh, God. Not more of them. Did I stock up on fish food? No. I mean, I have so much freaking fish food. I buy in bulk anyway, and I have wholesale accounts. So, I mean, I probably have 3 of the big buckets of ONIP, probably like 3 of the big cans of krill. One thing I should have stocked up on was frozen food, because I don't have any, and I'm not going out to get it. What fish has been my biggest surprise, other than jumping out? Oh God, yeah, the lid. I don't know. I mean, I guess I always find it surprising when something new spawns. But yeah, I don't know other than that. That's a tough question. I have 10 pygmies in a 10-gallon. Is that what that question was? Oh, you have 10 pygmies. How many orders? You can put 10 in a 10-gallon. It really depends on what else you plan to put in there. Have I ever had chocolate gouramis? Yeah, they're great fish. I have to keep them in rainwater, though, so I don't work with them very often because I don't like to carry the water up and down the stairs to the fish room. And my knee is just too bad for that. Why do fish stores no longer display Firebelly news for sale? I'm not sure. The tank with the rosy loaches. I know, it's up. Can you guys... Oh, wait, maybe you can't see it. It's up at the top there in that corner. I don't know how I missed seeing that. It was becoming completely overgrown. Like, I've never had a tank that overgrown. So I have no idea what happened there or how that happened, but it is definitely overgrown. Am I going to pull Rhinogobius to get breeding? You know, if I would have been smart, I would just never have put him in the 150 to begin with. You know, so I don't know. I might just buy more once all this is past us and just set up a spawning tank rather than trying to catch them out of the 150. Plus, that tank is so fun to watch with fish that are in it, you know. So we'll see. A lot of people have different ways to keep fish, which may work for some and not for others. Is there anything that you really despise that people do in the hobby? I mean, this is kind of the same as like what my biggest issue with the hobby is. I don't like it when people present information like it's the only way to do things, as you mentioned in your question. You know, fish don't read the books, plants don't read the books, but we should read the books and just make our most educated guess on how to do things and be receptive to other people's ideas because there's often better ways to do things. Thanks, Gary. It's good to see you. Do I use just straight rainwater in any tanks without additives? Not right now. When I was working with licorice gourami with the Paris Verminus, I did with those, and I added botanicals. But I'm not really keeping anything right now that really requires it. So I'm not doing that at the moment. Why do I like 20 longs? I just think they're super versatile. They have a great footprint, and I think it's easy to aquascape them and have it look really dynamic. A taller tank is hard with how short front to back it is. So unless you're going to add, get something like a scaper tank that has more front to back depth to be able to play with height and perspective, the 20 long is a better footprint in my opinion. Ever worked with redfins? Yep. That's nice, David. It's cool. Yeah, now's the time. I guess now's not the time in a global pandemic, but now is the time that I would normally be looking on Craigslist or Kijiji for people getting rid of stock tubs. Papyrus, Briaris vegetative, chili rasbora. Nice peace lily behind me. Yeah, that I was given when my mom died. It actually came, I call it my Nana plant because my kids called my mom Nana. It came in this little tiny ceramic dish, and she died 10 years ago. So I feel obligated to keep it alive. So it's moved all around my house. I moved it down here because it blooms so much now. I didn't want it to make my cats sick, and they're not allowed down here. Thank you for the super chats. 20 questions was fun. Have I ever kept the dads? Yeah, I answered that earlier. I've worked with quite a few species. They can just be kind of snarky, be surprisingly nippy. So they're not particularly great with communities. They're good with a lot of the cichlids, though. Can you talk about having no substrate in tanks? I would like to do that, but I don't know if it's good. I used to maintain all bare bottom aquariums, honestly. They're much easier to clean. The only fish that really require substrate are those that use it to spawn or as part of their natural feeding behavior. And if that's the case, like say if you're working with something like Carnivorous, you can put, partial substrate or like a shallow dish of substrate rather than keeping it in the entire aquarium. You can always pot plants. They don't have to be planted into a formal substrate in the bottom of your aquarium. When I was doing a lot of focusing on my business and selling a lot of fish, it didn't make sense to keep substrate in my aquariums because again, I needed to keep them really, really clean. So, now that, my basement is just about my hobby for the most part, I've added substrate in a lot of the tanks, but even now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them are bare bottom over here, and most of the ones over in my breeding rack are bare bottom. I am not shipping or selling during the lockdown. I am not willing to go out when we're in a stay-in-place order. How did you learn to pronounce scientific names of fish? I say it like I mean it. And I have attended thousands of lectures, and one of the things that I have noticed is that the Latin pronunciation varies greatly depending on where you're from. So as I travel the country or even internationally, depending on where you go, people pronounce things very differently, and I think a lot of times it depends on who's been in the area to give academic lectures, because you see such a regional shift. So I just say it like I mean it, and I'm okay if I'm wrong. If someone corrects me, I'm happy to learn. But I do the best I can, Let's see. A couple more questions, and then I need to eat some lunch because I am hungry. Have I tried to breed the moth cats? Which ones? The Acacia cats? What or do you mean Herigardoni? Do I have any bristlenose? Oh, that's someone asking someone else. No, I don't. I don't work with many killifish down here. I don't use lids. The only tanks that have lids are Captain Cranky Pants because he jumps, the big boy because they jump, and my paludarium to hold in humidity, and the wild bettas because they need that humid air layer for breeding. Would quarries work in outdoor tubs? I mean, maybe, depends on your temperature range. They would certainly, I mean, I've had Brocus outside before, and I've bred Brocus outside before, but there are species that have more of a cooler temperature threshold, you know, so I guess it really depends. You know, the problem, the main reason I don't work with things like a lot of cories or even dwarf cichlids outside is that the babies are so slow to grow. You get a much higher yield of offspring when you work with something that has a faster growth rate. So things like the Danios or the white clouds, you know, I can move them out within a few weeks, have fry, and by halfway through the season, those fry are having fry. So to me, it's much more worth the space of the real estate out there to have that level of breeding, or something like live bearers where they're going to produce, you know, hundreds and grow quickly and really benefit from that outside environment. Summer tubbing will be starting. I'm gonna start setting up tubs soon. It's just early spring here. Usually middle of May is when it really goes into full force. So, see if I missed anything else. Good way to keep cats out of your tanks. Oh, that you were answering someone else's question. Honestly, the best way to keep my cats out of my tanks is I have kitty water fountains for them. You know, the ones that, like a water fountain where it's constantly running and there's like a little waterfall for them, and they play in that and just ignore my fish tanks now. They used to sit on top of my tanks. They used to, you know, drink out of the top of my tanks, but once I set up water fountains for them, they started leaving my aquariums alone. Well, I think that I am tired of talking and also looking at my own face. So I appreciate all of you guys coming to spend the time. I really appreciate the super chats. It means a lot to me. I'll answer a couple more and then we'll be done. Someone asked about keeping mono shrimp with dwarf gobies. Yeah, that's fine. How do you remove pathogens from your aquarium if fish are sick? Do you mean illness or do you mean additives? I'm not quite sure what you mean, but all right, on that note, let's get out of here. Thank you guys again. If you'd like for me to do more of these, let me know. We could start doing it weekly maybe. I used to do it weekly. I don't know what happened to that. I just stopped. So if this is something you guys enjoy, maybe we can do some that have actual topics, and then we could maybe do some live build or live demonstration of what the topic is, or even I can just pull fish so that we can look at those. So anyway, thank you guys so much.